I learned that art is a struggle. It's basically a struggle. It's not like, something that you want to do. It's a struggle, and it's a happy struggle because you want to like really just want, you need space. Artists, we just need space. We don't care. I personally don't care about anything. I just need space so I can keep going.
In Bed-Stuy and Crown Heights had a profound impact on the work of artist Michael Anthony Pegues. He was looking to get his work noticed on a grand scale and turned to Macy's.
Elite this summer came into our store in Herald Square, went into our visual offices, and he said he needed to be in our windows.
It worked out since Macy's wanted to highlight Black creatives and Black brilliance at its stores, including the downtown Brooklyn location.
Well, it was kind of rough growing up in Brooklyn. I was born and raised in the ghetto, and it was like kind of rough in the 70s and 80s. You had the crack era, you had people hanging out, you had a lot of people doing stuff on the graffiti styles and graffiti way of life. There were trades tags all over the place and everything, and then you had artists, you had musicians, you had different artists combining together. There we go. We had to survive through the urban war drug fair. There was a lot of drugs hanging out on the streets, and people were getting high and hanging out, and there was a lot of club scenes. The club scene was really amazing. The Paradise Garage, Studio 54, the China Club, the Palladium, the Sound Factory, the Underground, the Loft. I've been to mostly all the old school parties back in the days. It had a lot to do with pop art. Not only that, but it had a lot to do with art. Pop art is a way of life. It's something that you cannot describe. It's only something that the artist can describe. You might interpret it another way, but it's a very form of what we like to use as a three-dimensional, or pop art can be something very simple but very powerful. Pop art is something with, it goes also with the rock style. Rock star and pop stars basically goes together because there's not only rock stars, but there's pop stars. So pop art is like basically like taking something and making it and then combining it into another form of life. But it's actually not what you think what it is, but it is what it is. Picasso was one of the number one things that children and everybody was like well known to know about. I think everybody was presenting that to me at the time in the 80s. Picasso was way born before me. But to learn about him was like one of the number one things that really triggered, your mind to like really do art. Andy Warhol was one of the most inspired artists for me.
Andy Warhol's reticence about himself masks a unique sensibility, one which has helped to alter our vision of the contemporary world. He suppresses his own feelings. This comes naturally to him, but also it imposes a detachment which gives his work an objective, almost surgical clarity. In time, he arrived at the silkscreen technique of making his pictures, a method which completely removes his own hand from the paintings.
Looking at him was just like looking at me when the Vanderbilts made me the Black Andy Warhol from Seeds of Society. Jean-Michel Basquiat was one of my favorites because when I knew about what he was doing, and even though I was doing something different, it was very excited to see a young man do this kind of stuff, and like not knowing what he was doing and not knowing what I was doing, came to a real conclusion to like really push your art even more. It was like really, everything was like in your face back then. You either become an artist or you don't, or you just make up your mind what you're gonna do. My mind was made up to be an artist when I was like in my when I was very young, like around 15.
It's amazing how I diverse in a lot of these pieces.
I use anything I could get my hands on. Found objects, plastic. I use plexiglass. I use drawing pens, markers. I use everything that there is to articulate a style. When I did something for Fashion Fights Cancer, I sold a piece for like almost 48,000. And that really made me excited about, I never thought that, I was learning a lot about art even when you had to do charity funds for like children fundraise and stuff. And I went and did a big charity fundraise, which was held for Sotheby's auction. And I sold a piece for the children, which I donated, which was the piece that I did, which was $5,000, which went to the children's fundraise. Then I did something in Red Hook initiative. And then I started like wondering like, wow, I didn't know you had to do this as an artist, but learning about it, because I thought like, just doing art, like you got to get paid for it. But doing the fundraise made me more like learning more. I learned more about art, that's all part of the game, fundraise and selling art and giving and expressing, your love that you have for art. At one point, I was out on the streets, and it was kind of rough for me. And, I was living from basement to basement, street to street, train to train. I lived in a lot of shelters. I lived in different places, basements. Some of the basements were described really cool, like, because I was, like, really painting in a lot of these basements that I was staying in. And, I would have to get up every day and then close the door without people knowing that I was there. And, it was like a little world down there doing stuff. And, one of my friends that let me stay there, but, it was kind of hard because, it was rough, like, coming in and out. And, most of the basements, and down in the streets and stuff like that, I would leave a lot of art behind too, like because I couldn't take it with me. To keep on painting, keep on doing what you're going to do. Don't stop. Keep striving for your goals. You will reach there. You're going to make it. If you implement your ideals and be selective, you're going to make it. You're going to be on top of everything. When you never give up your art and you always keep going, you're going to make it. You're going to be on top of it.